But a lot of you don't know who I am. You're probably a lurker. You ended up on my channel. That's totally cool. I lurk on other people's stuff. I gotta start putting out long-form content because I think being a musician on Spotify and TikTok is very competitive. And not just that, but sometimes it's impersonal to a lot of future fans and audience. I figure like it's just time to just sit down with this beautiful pond over here and just talk about me a little bit so you guys know what you're dealing with. And it's not just someone who's infiltrating your feed like a mosquito. And yeah, so I'll get started. So 26 years old. I actually got, a lot of people got into music when they were 4 or like 5. I got into music when I was 19. So I was a freshman or sophomore in college. And I was raised on a lot of rock music. So I was raised on 70s, 80s rock. My parents really liked Prince. They liked Bon Jovi. Michael Jackson was a huge one. Nirvana, Foo Fighters was a huge one because my parents were in their 20s in the 90s. And that was playing in the house all the time. I remember my dad would burn Nickelback CDs, so we had like all the albums. So that was a main staple as well. So naturally you have like, I had rock and roll music just pummeling my eardrums, like going in and out of my head constantly. And I would say when I was 7 years old, I remember thinking like in the back of my head, you know, it would be really cool to do what Chad Kroeger does of Nickelback, the front man. It'd be really cool to be up there. And my brother and I would always joke about the song Rockstar because it's a really cheesy song, but it's like, even as kids, we found it really catchy. And we saw the music video, we thought it was really cool. That kind of lifestyle, you know, you're around girls and pools and money, that kind of thing. Then we just dropped it. I think both of us, you know, we were probably in elementary school, so we had a lot of other stuff going on. I don't really feel like music class was very pertaining to me. I more so liked gym class and recess, you know, being active and running around during the school day, probably as a lot of kids can relate to. But I got into songwriting at 19 because, again, I'd never considered it too much. I remember having a thought when I was 18, like it'd be really cool to do what John Williams does. John Williams, the composer of Star Wars, Jaws. There's a lot of other scores that a lot of people have heard, and chances are it's John Williams. But John Williams creates the most beautiful compositions for films, for the background of his movies, and they're very creative. And I remember, you know, being a Star Wars fan growing up, just always thinking like it'd be really cool to do something like what he does. And when I was 19, I was just like pushing off my homework, I was procrastinating, and I was in the computer lab. And I remember just going onto the computer and just like fooling around with this online music software. And I did that for a while, and I actually spent the whole night just working on this one project. It started on one verse, and then it went all the way into like a 3 or 4 minute song, and it took me the whole night to finish it. It was a really, really long project, and it was early morning, I think on a Saturday when I got done. And I remember like playing it back, because there's an automated playback on the website. I remember thinking like, holy crap, I can actually write music like John Williams, you know? Not as well as him, but then I just kept doing that. I didn't know how to play guitar yet. I didn't know how to... I sang in high school choir, but like it wasn't anything... I wasn't anything good, at least to me. Maybe to my classmates I was. And I sang in the shower for years as well. But I could carry a tune, you know, for the most part. So by the time I was writing these softwares, a couple years down the road, I had written maybe 20 songs. And you guys will hear them. I wrote 20 different songs, and I didn't know how to play the guitar and sing. I got really into the Beatles, because my roommate from college was really into them. And so I started doing that. I started learning Paul McCartney and John Lennon songs, and I also was picking up the guitar around that time. I just was really interested in it. I started on a ukulele. It was not big at all, probably this big. And I started learning the fretboard, learned single notes, how to play single notes on one string, and then it eventually translated a couple of years later, around 2021, I was able to start actually like strumming and playing chords. And then I figured out how to add singing on top of it, and that kind of culminates to where I am now. In recent years, I've gotten into pop music, like mainstream pop, so whatever's come out these last 6 years, since 2020, I've been really into. But I have a broad musical taste. It wasn't just rock and roll like my parents raised me on. I got into country when I moved to Nashville in 2022. I got really into rap music when I lived in Arizona for a summer. So naturally, I think I have a lot of crossover taste because I just like good music. And when you're exposed to things for a while, it gets really familiar. It's like something you want to keep listening to. So you're going to hear when you listen to my music, you'll probably hear elements of all those main genres. I would say if there's a bass layer, that would probably be like rock music or pop music, because that's what I was raised on for the longest time. And then a layer above that, it's a little bit less packed in, less baked in, would probably be rap music. You can kind of hear it in the drums. I think I have more rap drums than I do rock and roll drums. Above that, you're probably going to hear slight country overtones because, again, I said I moved to Nashville. I was exposed to country music for the first time. And then one more beyond that would probably be just anything else, whether that was film scores like John Williams did, or maybe Afro beats, because, you know, I am slightly into like Latino, Perio, like Afro beats, that kind of stuff. So all those kind of blend together and kind of create what you hear, and that's where you hear that unique sound. But I'll be releasing more videos like this. I think it's good for me, and it's good for people to know who I am, instead of just seeing the 10-second clip videos that I've released so far. It doesn't really like give you guys the full picture of my personality, and so we'll probably do this again, but that kind of shows you where I started, how I learned my process. And I'll be talking more about it, and we'll just have more videos. I don't know where this channel is going to go, but I figure the more you guys know about me, the better.